Hi there, Gary Corbett again, Crazy Corb. And I've got one more story for the day that I want to say to you. I just finished doing the one on Carrie and stealing the Doheny yacht and trying to sail off to South America to find his fortune. Sad life there. But a lot of times sad things happen from happy moments. Um, I have a friend that I went to high school with that was killed in a gun battle with narcotics agents over a crop he was growing in Hawaii. Would have been good pot. But I never got to talk to him after high school. Never got to talk with him when he was getting high and things like that. We just never crossed paths. And when pot first started out, when I first started out with pot, let me phrase that way. It was Mexican pot, lots of seeds. Slowly, I'd say 3 or 4 years after I started dealing with Mexican pot, and U.S. pot started to come into favor, and I bought some out of some out of Santa Barbara. Oops, my camera's slipping. Sorry about that. Also, I had a little bit when I got married in 1970. I got some pot out of Seattle, so it was coming out of Washington State. That came without seeds, better quality. Had hash balls in the mix. So I received a gunny sack full of pot as a wedding present. It's kind of funny to me in a way because living in Oregon, of course, now it's legal. And I've grown here medical marijuana for 8 or 9 years. And since me and bud has become the norm, no, nothing with seeds. You can buy seeds, but nothing with seeds is sold as pot. And when they weigh pot for criminal sanctions, they only weigh the leaves. They don't weigh stems or seeds. So it seems funny in a way to me because back in the day, meaning the 60s, Mexican pot had so many seeds it was ridiculous. But I do remember that when the pot in America started to becoming produced, all of a sudden the pot coming out of Mexico seemed to get better. Fewer seeds. You started getting more Acapulco Gold, more Panama Red. And yes, those are actual, real types of pot. And yes, they're extremely different from what the normal run of pot was. Well, I mean, really different. I lost my last time going to community college because of some Acapulco Gold I got in a transaction where I bought, I think, 4 kilos, and a friend I got, I don't know, two for himself too, so there's like 6 kilos. And I was breaking mine apart when I got a phone call from the man I got the stuff from. And he said, "Are you watching TV?" And I said, "No." He says, "Turn on Channel 5." Turned on Channel 5. And here was George Putnam, the Los Angeles reporter. And it was his show, and he had a kilo that he was breaking apart and showing everyone on TV. Funny thing was, it matched one of my kilos, one that I was breaking apart at the time. And I looked at that, and he was talking about Operation Intercept. That was when Richard Nixon was president, and he named that to try to. The only thing I saw do was raise the price of pot, so I just assumed he was doing his own business, trying to get more money for it. Pot had gotten really cheap at that time. So I just kind of sat there and thought, well, shit, I was amazed. I'm breaking my pot apart. He's breaking his pot apart. He's talking about it. He's talking about how it was a 1,000 kilo shipment that was followed from Mexico into America. and all the way up to Long Beach, where I lived, Long Beach, California. And it was followed into a motel on 4th Street in Long Beach. And I'm sitting there listening to George Putnam run on about this shit. And I'm thinking, that's funny because I was told that's where this came from. And the guy had packed in all 1,000 kilos into his motel room and stacked it against one wall. And my friend had gone in and got 6 kilos, and out the door he went. And, he come to my place, dropped off the 4 kilos, and he kept his 2, and he left. I thought, how odd. And then I find out that Judge Putnam is saying, this was a 1,000-kilo load. It was followed all the way up from Mexico and followed into the hotel where it was unloaded. And there's 6 kilos missing. Nobody knew where they were. And I'm thinking, I know where they are. I know where 4 of them are. They're right here in front of me. So I looked out my window, but there was nobody looking. And apparently the officers had followed him and watched him unload the kilos into the apartment, and then they all went to get a search warrant. When they came back, which takes about 20 to 30 minutes, when they came back, they busted it. I guess my 6 kilos wandered out during that short time span. I mean, I've been involved in multiple places where the place was under surveillance and stuff. And I've walked in and gotten bags full of kilos. Nobody's ever said boo. They've never said a word at all. I just had that happen. So I got to sit and I got to watch and I got to play, and the weed was good. I was happy with that. It was too bad the police got the rest of it, but shit happens. And I had friends that were dealing heavily into pot, and quite frankly, it was a little strange. They started coming up with some really good Mexican pot. It competed with anything I'd ever seen in American pot. Now, no. The pot now is so much stronger, so much better, that there's no comparison. The Acapulco Gold that I got, that I dropped out of college over, was because I forgot to go to school for a week and got dropped out, even though I had straight A's in the classes. Well, once again, shit happens. I was doing what I wanted to do. I was smoking my weed. And, wow, I see people now smoking this good shit, using glass pipes, something that we hardly ever thought about back then. We used mostly brass pipes back then, and wood pipes. I had a lot of wood pipes in my head shop that I sold. Somebody that would make pipes out of different wood that he scrounged up and stuff. They're beautiful pipes, but they were $50, $60, $70, some of them $100, $125 a piece. That's okay for nice wooden pipes. Glass pipes should have been cheap. Glass pipes now are $50, $60. So the economics of it seems to slide back and forth. But the whole issue really comes right down to the fact that, do you really want to have a $50 pipe and be smoking pot and have the cops come by and grab it and take it? And half of the time it doesn't ever get turned in. They just keep it for themselves. I mean, far be it from me to tell you that the police are not always straightforward and honest. But my experience has been they are human. And I've known cops that get their smoking stash by taking it from people. So I know this seems like I'm rambling, but I'm not. There is a point to this. One of the reasons I talk about the 60s and why it's so important. Then the next volume of my book is the 70s. So there'll be a total change because that's when I moved to Oregon. But in the 60s, people smoked pot as a way to get together and have a beer sort of type thing. Everybody smoked a few joints and we'd all get high and like that. It wasn't you smoke a joint and you fall asleep. Now you can't smoke a joint because you will fall asleep and probably burn your house down because you dropped the joint. Now, nowadays, it's a whole different thing. Nobody really seems to want to make you think that everything is better, but it is. But it's not the same as it used to be. It used to be a social requirement. You hand a joint to somebody when you meet them. It's the first thing you would do. Hand a joint to them and share it. Now nobody wants to share because they give each other colds. Okay, I can understand all of that. It makes perfect sense to me. What doesn't make perfect sense to me is that anybody would really be concerned about what they did or didn't do in the 1960s. You should be able to look back at that as a fun time because that's what we did. We had fun. We didn't make fun of each other. We didn't have problems like that. There wasn't the race problems that there are now. There wasn't the gang problems that there are now. The 60s were a much better time to be alive. They were fun. I hope this has been enjoyable for you. I hope it's been a nice little flashback. I hope that you subscribe. Please subscribe. I really, really, truly need more subscriptions. And likes. Please like. And I've only had one comment in 4 years. One comment. Come on, guys, gals. Come on, folks. Comment. Like. Subscribe. Hit that little bell and you'll be notified every time I upload a video. You can watch it when you want to. But do, please, subscribe. Thank you very much. Have a great day. And here's to the power of the people.